All right, folks, so here it is, my new 2003 Pontiac Bonneville SSEi, the supercharged model, fully loaded. This was replaced a few years later with the GXP Bonneville, which had the North Star V8. I can't believe how cheap I got this Bonneville at the auction. The same auction you guys see me go to almost every week. The one I got my blue Seville at, the one I got the green Seville at that I just sold. Now, I won this on the online auction this morning. That's what the I means in the top right corner. It's an internet car that they auctioned off online. That's where they usually put the nicer vehicles. And I expected to have to pay close to $1,000 for this, if not more, just on the bid amount before fees. So I went and looked at this Pontiac yesterday when you can preview the online cars before they auction them off. Due to liability issues, the people that work there are the ones that will sit in the car, start it up for you, rev the engine, put it in gear. And so I asked the guy who sat in the car for me, how did the brakes feel? He said, oh, the pedal goes right to the floor. It's very mushy. And I said, oh, geez, well, the car probably needs a brake line or a master cylinder. However, I looked at the car and saw it's very clean. There's no rust. This is just dirt around the car. I haven't washed it or anything. I just got home with it. I dollied it home because, again, I had the dolly. And I expected that the car needed a brake line or a master cylinder. So that didn't bother me too much. A pretty cheap and easy fix either way. They had the car listed on the website as having a smoking engine. Now, my first thought was this is a Series 2 3800. It's an L67, obviously, but when the valve covers start leaking, they drip right onto the exhaust manifold and smoke comes up. So sure enough, that was the reason I went and looked at it before bidding on it, and I'm glad I did because I saw just how nice this car really is, and I saw that it was just the valve cover leaking onto the manifold. So I went home feeling good about the car. The other issue with this vehicle that they had listed on the website was that it was TMU, true mileage unknown. The odometer and the entire cluster is not working anymore. It's not an uncommon thing to happen to GM vehicles. My Escalade had its cluster go bad a few years back. It was completely overhauled. It's a very common issue with GM vehicles of this era. So I ran the Carfax on it, thinking the car probably had 150, 60, maybe even 170,000 miles on it. Couldn't be too much because it was a really nice shape. The leather isn't worn out at all, and all the buttons on the steering wheel aren't worn out. Well, boy, was I surprised when the Carfax showed this vehicle the last time it was checked out, which was in October of 2018, having 54,000 miles. And you follow back the paper trail on the Carfax, every oil change, every inspection's on there. There's no discrepancies. It goes from 54,000 to 50 to 48 and so on and so on. So I said, holy cow, this thing really does have 50,000 miles on it. So now I got real interested, obviously. I figured I wouldn't be the only one to run the Carfax. I'd have to pay big money to get this car. You guys know me, the deal's got to be right. Just because I want a car real bad doesn't mean I'm going to pay retail for it or anything even close to it. I like to get cars for an absolute bargain. That's how I'm able to have so many. Auction day came up, being today, and I was real interested in the car, so I actually sat for the live auction on my computer just in case I wanted to bid higher. And sure enough, just before the live auction started, somebody put in a proxy bid of 400, and I bid one more time to 500, and they did not proxy any higher than that. So I was the high bidder at 500 just before the auction started. A couple hours later, finally down the list, it gets to this car. Nobody else bids. I win it for $500 before auction fees. My grand total on this 50,000 mile SSEi Bonneville with 4 brand new Firestone tires all around with great tread. This thing is still inspected. And by the way, it stops on a dime. There's no issue with the brakes. I don't know what that kid was talking about. Maybe he had his eye on it and didn't want me to bid on it because the brakes are perfectly fine. The car stops on a dime. It has great brake pressure. And I knew something was a little fishy because I checked the brake fluid reservoir after he said that and it was full, but I figured maybe the master was leaking internally. I had that happen on one of my Malibus, and sure enough, the pedal goes right to the floor. But the brakes are fine on this car. It has no rust, and it has genuine 50,000 miles. Even the oil change sticker confirms that. Again, the Carfax confirms that. The title confirms that. They just had to sell it as TMU, true mileage unknown, because at the time that they received the vehicle at the auction, the odometer was not lighting up. So somehow everybody else missed out on this deal. I got a 50,000 mile SSEi Bonneville that needs a few minor things, but I'll be in this car for under $1,000 with all the repairs. And you see these things listed for sale for $4 grand with 100,000 plus miles on them. Doesn't mean they're selling for that, but this is definitely a bargain, and this is one for my collection. It's not going anywhere. I did sell the LeSabre, one I said I wouldn't sell, the one I bought for $300 off the original owners that needed a valve cover gasket, and it failed inspection for emissions because the check engine light came on for an O2 sensor, and then it went away after I bought the car. I did sell that LeSabre, so this will be the LeSabre's replacement. Anyway, enough rambling. I haven't even driven this car any more than driving it out of the auction onto the dolly and driving it from my Escalade over here to this spot. So I'm dying to get in here, fire it up, and show you guys how it runs, and we'll see how it drives. So like I said, the cluster is not working properly. You can see it's at 2,000 RPM and 20 miles an hour. I'm sitting here right in my driveway. None of the gauges are working. The boost gauge, the oil pressure gauge, everything is frozen as you see it. So I have no idea how much gas is in this thing. Nothing. Fires right up. We got no check engine light. The monsoon radio, it does work. Monetize. The AC does not work. Hopefully it just needs a recharge. The heads-up display, I was trying to have the kid tell me if it worked, but I don't know if he had it aimed right or if it's just burned out. It seems like it doesn't work. That's okay because I have a working unit in my parts car, the Grand Prix. Unless, well, I can always mess around with that later, but I don't think it works. Here you go, some more proof. And the last oil change sticker was due at 56,000 miles. I'm guessing it hasn't been done because the oil is a little dark. But this is my first time really taking this thing out for a drive. All right, this is a little tricky because I'm filming with my iPad here, but I'll do my best. I can't even see, well, I can't see the cluster, but I don't need to. It doesn't work. But you can see it just shifted to third. No problems at all. I do notice that the headliner is sagging a bit in the back and in the front, and so are these sun visors, but that's really not the end of the world. I'd certainly rather that be the issue than the paint. And the paint is in beautiful shape. But so far it seems to run and drive excellent. Oh yeah! Wow! This is fast, and it runs fantastic. Now, you guys are probably laughing. These cars aren't that quick. They're like 260 horsepower. Might even be a little bit less. It might be 240. But you gotta remember, I drive around big old Cadillac Sevilles and shit every day. So when I drive something like this, it feels very quick. It's just like the Grand Prix. This thing moves and it just runs beautifully. You know, I was just thinking about it. Everything on the cluster isn't working, right? Even the driver information center, nothing is working. Oh, the blinkers are working. I wonder if it's just a fuse, because the heads-up display isn't working either. No matter how you mess with the switch and the image, it's not working. So maybe there's a fuse that went that controls all this, because I think it's a little strange for that all to be bad. All right, so it's been a few days since I bought the 50-something thousand mile Bonneville SSEi at auction, and I've been dying to get into this thing and figure out what's wrong with the cluster. So the first thing I'm going to try, I did some research the past few days online in the forums, and typically you have problems with the little motors in the actual cluster that will cause the needles to act erratically or just not work at all. However, this is a unique situation where the entire cluster, the odometer, the information center, the heads-up display, none of that is working. So I have a hard time believing that every stepper motor in the cluster could have gone bad, at least that quickly and all together. But the first thing I'm going to try, because I already checked the fuse box underneath the rear seat. That's where one of the big fuse boxes is located in this vehicle. and I checked fuse number 30, which is a 10 amp, I believe, fuse for the gauge cluster, and it was not blown. There was no other relays I know of off the top of my head, or even in the instruction manual, that are specifically for the instrument cluster besides that fuse. And again, it was not blown. There may be another one that doesn't directly say it's for the gauge cluster and the heads-up display, but maybe it does have an effect on it, but I haven't found that yet, nor could I find anything online that said so. So the next thing I saw people say, look at all these flies. I just cut my grass on the other side of the house, and I think it kicked them all out. I don't think they're too happy with me for that. But the next thing I saw online was that a lot of times when these clusters are rebuilt, these clusters, when you push them in, they connect right then and there to the prongs and the wiring. It's not like there's a wire that you pull out and then unplug. Sometimes you don't seat the cluster in just right. It can cause the cluster to act the way mine is acting. Now, one thing that makes me think that's a possibility is you can see one of these little pins here that you pop out to get to the cluster is already loose. Now, that could just happen over time, but that likely means that this cluster's already been out before, especially with the age of this vehicle and mileage having nothing to do with stepper motor failure. There's a good chance this cluster's already been out and been rebuilt. So possibly when they put it back in, it didn't seat right, and it probably worked for a little while, and you can see this guy was probably driving along, and all of a sudden the cluster stopped working entirely, and it's still like that today. So it's pretty simple to get to this cluster. You obviously want to be careful because of the GM hard plastics. You pop this thing down. It's one of these weird little push pins. You have to get in there with a flathead screwdriver and gently push it down. There's one more over here, and then after that, I don't have a trim tool, but I'm usually very careful. You have to go around and slowly pop out this dash bezel. You have to disconnect these buttons here. There is a harness that runs to that, and this all pops out, and then from there, there's these two tabs you push to release the cluster. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and we'll try to reseat this cluster and see if that's the issue. If not, maybe we have a ground issue. I'm not sure. I haven't checked all the grounds yet. There's quite a few in this vehicle underneath it, in the engine bay, underneath the seats. There is a lot of grounds to check, but I'm going to check the most complained about problems first with these clusters, this being one of them. Okay, I'm not so sure how good your view is from where you're watching me, but there's not much to see here anyway. It's pretty much the exact process I just said. Let's see here. This is the broken one that was kind of hanging out loose. So someone's already been in this dashboard before. Next thing you do is you pop out this little ring around the ignition, and it's notched. So when you put this back in, it'll line up the way it's supposed to. You don't have to worry about having it wrong. Now I go around, and normally you'd want to use a trim tool for this, but this is Big Al's Bike and Auto, so we're doing things the wrong way. And that's what happens when you do things the wrong way. You break things. I just broke a little piece of the plastic here that holds on this bezel. Not a big deal. I can always super glue that back in, or it's probably one of many that have been broken in the past. This has been out before, so if anything, it makes it quicker to take it out. Okay, I'm just going to be a little more careful this time. Now I have an SSEi, so I might have to also, and you can see this was already like this. This one I'm not lying about. This was already broken in the bottom left corner here of the bezel trim. So someone's definitely had this bezel out before. There's a number of reasons to take this thing out. It wouldn't just be for cluster work, but more than likely that's why you would have this thing out. So I'm going to go ahead and pop off the harness for the buttons here. I'm going to probably have to do the same thing for the heads-up display. Yep, someone's definitely had this out before. That little piece of plastic I just showed you is actually from the bottom of the cluster, which goes right here. So someone's handled this cluster before. There's also an area where there's glue over here. So someone's obviously broken this bezel before I did, taking it out. The mounting tabs, and I don't even see the one that I broke, to be honest. I must have just broke something on the edge of one of these mounting tabs because they're all still here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, they're all still there. You've got plenty of them, put it that way. You can definitely pop this thing back in. So I've got the bezel out. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the back seat. Get out of my way. Now, there's two ways you can take this cluster out. The easy way is to just move these little metal tabs and pull it straight out. I think there's 3 of them. 1, 2, and then I gotta get the last one. And the harder way would get to get a Torx driver and take these screws out. All right, the cluster is out. That only took me a few minutes. It's the beauty of these, at least they pop right out. I'm gonna try to reseat this thing in, just hook everything back up without putting all the cosmetic pieces back all the way in, and see if that fixes it. And if it doesn't, we might have a bigger issue. I just have to put a whole new cluster in. And the good news is if I have to do that, if I pop off this backing cover here, this square area right here is actually what keeps track of the mileage. So, you know, my concern obviously with putting a new cluster would be to have a cluster that says 150,000 miles when this car has around 50,000 miles. So I would be able to take that little black box out and move it over to the new cluster. So if I have to replace this, you can see how easy it is to get to it. That's what I'll do, but I like to try to work with this one first. Here we are with the cluster out. These are the 2 spots that the cluster mates up to the car. One there and one there. But the key thing is to get this to go in as straight as possible. So I don't want that hooking in yet. Okay, that was a pretty crisp, straight angle I put that in at. So you can see, same issue, gauges are still frozen. They are getting power at least to the backlights. You can see the backlights are on. Another typical issue with these clusters is the lights go bad. You can see it's a little more dim on that boost gauge. Still no power to the DTC or the odometer. I'm going to try just hooking up the features that were on the bezel just to see if there's any difference, but I'm not expecting there to be any. I'm thinking the cluster as a whole may just be bad. Before I go crazy going to get a cluster for this vehicle, I'm going to let you guys chime in and let me know what you think. There is somebody just a little over an hour away that has a cluster, a 2002 Bonneville cluster, which shouldn't have the issues with the stepper motors. It is working. He verified that. He sent me a video of the cluster working. It's in a car he's parting out, and it is an SSEi cluster. It's not like it's an SC or an SSE cluster. It'll pop right in here, no problem. And he also has the exhaust tip I need for back here. You can see one of them broke off. So before I make that long drive to and from to pick up that cluster, and obviously I could get one online as well, but I'm more of an instant gratification kind of person. I hate ordering things online. I hate waiting. I know it's a bit silly. I could get that same cluster and exhaust tip online for the same price and sit right here on my sofa and wait for it to arrive, but I'd rather go pick it up in person. Before I do that, let me know what you think. Do you think it's just a bad cluster? Do you think there's a bigger issue? Should I dig a little bit deeper? Should I do some more electrical testing before I buy that cluster? The way I see it is the cluster's so cheap, it's so much easier to just pop that thing in and see if it works. However, that does not explain the lack of heads-up display. Again, there's definitely something going on with this car that's causing both of those not to work. I'm not quite sure, so let me know what you think, and I'll do an update video real soon after I look at your suggestions. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for the next one very soon.